Bilal Beg. I'm an actor, playwright, theater creator person, and I've dabbled into like other things, but I think those are the identities that I like to identify with first. Yeah.
Where do you go to school?
I don't go to school anymore. I finished at Humber in April 2016.
You're going to be working with Rare Theatre on this new project. Why is it important for you to be working with Judith Thompson on this piece in particular?
I don't think Judith knows this, but I actually owe a lot of where I'm at as an artist because of her. I took her playwriting class at Guelph in 2013. And I hated Guelph. I was failing everything and was totally going to leave. And then found out that I could take her playwriting class as a first year and stuck around. It was the only reason I stuck around till the end of April. And her class basically changed my life. And I know this is so cliche, but it's really true. I was so close to not writing ever again. I had just kind of suffered through a very long mentorship with a playwright who I think really destroyed almost every fiber in me that wanted to write and wanted to tell stories. And then Judith came along, and suddenly, just by watching her speak and kind of feeling her drive and her passion, led to me writing in Urdu, which was something that I had never done before, and is the thing that I basically almost exclusively do now. And that writing in that language, centering that language, is such a huge part of my work now, and it guides me like that, knowing that this is the story that this language has to exist in the stories that I'm telling, helps to shape them, and so yeah. As a writer, I found my voice in her class, and so it's really exciting to kind of come back to it years later now. It's been about 3 years, over 3 years, I think, and I'm just kind of craving that same process, right? Like learning more from her. I think you can never stop learning from her, so I'm looking forward to that.
So I want to ask you about your work. So you are joining with Rare Theatre Company with Judith Thompson. What is the show that you're hoping to create with with this company?
So this was a play that I developed through Humber in my last year, and it was something that I had been thinking about actually for quite some time before actually getting to it and writing it. It's called Khwaja Sira, and it's a play about the Khwaja Sira community that exists in Pakistan, and they're a group of people who identify as the third gender. So in 2014, the Pakistani government decided to award them rights to be legal citizens, and they've kind of been around since forever. And so I was learning about that while also, around 2014, I was exploring my own gender identity, gender fluidity, and just kind of saw an emerging of these two, this personal thing that was happening to me and this political, global thing that was also happening, and I could see a real merging of those things and a real desire to help tell this story. And so it's a play about the severe injustices this community continues to face even after being awarded these rights, which basically mean nothing. They don't have access to healthcare or jobs or safety and are constantly ridiculed and too often murdered. So yeah, the play is looking at their life, and then also just just on a grander level, looking at the violence around and on queer and gender variant and also Muslim bodies.
And why is it important for this time? Keep you shot.
Oh,
why is it important for you to tell the story now? I mean, yes, it will be developed in 2018.
Yeah.
Say.
Yeah.
Maybe sooner, who knows?
Yeah.
But why do you think it's important to work with Judith Thompson now? Actually, that's two questions.
Yeah.
Why is the story important now?
Yeah. And
the second one I want to ask is, why is it important for you to work with Judith Thompson?
Right. So, if queer people are still being killed, if gender variant, trans folks are being killed, if Muslims are being wrongly criticized for just for you know, constantly being violent or constantly, you know, wanting to blow things up, literally, which is often untrue, but it is true sometimes. Whatever, you know, like, if these things continue to happen, we need to continue to talk about them. We need to continue to challenge certain ideas and notions we have about these specific groups of people. And I mean, it's 2016, but, you know, that means nothing. Like, we're so far behind, and I want to shed light on the things that I think need to be talked about and need to always be talked about. I hope that this conversation can go past the work, and maybe more people will want to write about queer people and brown people. It was a very interesting experience. I mean, I think dedicating yourself to 3 years of anything is a big commitment, and lots of things change, and that's definitely what happened internally, and I think externally as well. Like, I grew so much in that program and learned a lot. And then on the other side of it, I also learned that I was learning in an institution that that perpetuates some, like, pretty problematic ideas, and so it's kind of, so that's where I'm at. Like, I finished, and I'm glad I finished, and I'm really happy about the work that I did, but I constantly think about kind of the fucked up nature. Can I swear? The fucked up nature of theater schools in general.
I agree.
Yeah.
And what would you say is probably the biggest issue you think that is being not addressed, or the biggest issue you think in theater schools in Canada presently, from your experiences or from the experiences you've heard from other people?
I think it's different. You know, people will argue the differences between, or the similarities between, like, or maybe I kept hearing in theater school was that this is like the real world, this is like the real community. But the thing I struggled with a lot was a real sense of hierarchy that was reinforced by the institution, by the faculty, that I don't feel when I'm out in working in this world, which I'm doing now in the specific theater community. And there isn't that feeling. I have yet to experience that or feel that now, and I just think it's an incredibly problematic thing when you're training and when you're learning and when you're there to grow and make mistakes and challenge yourself and challenge the world, and there are real barriers presented when you're kind of looked at only in one way or placed in the order, like, you know, so and so is here at the top, and then your work I'm not as interested in, so you fall kind of at the bottom, and therefore we won't really pay attention to you, and we'll kind of let you go. Or
so, I mean, I hate this term, but you would be classified as, is it fair to say you're classified as an emerging artist?
Yes, I am.
What would you say is your biggest challenge being an emerging artist in Toronto right now?
Biggest challenge?
And aside from making money.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Not everyone's gonna make money.
Yeah.
But if you wish someone would have told you this in advance, it would have never changed your path, but if you wish you, like, what is the biggest thing that you think is the challenge for you as an artist coming out and trying to start your career?
I think not knowing how much I can fuck things up. And when you say, if someone had told you something earlier, I wish it would have been like, I wish I had the permission from, I think, you know, not only people, but maybe the world, and this is maybe like spiritual or whatever, to know that I can say things and say what I believe in and kind of stick to it and put it out into the world. And part of my journey through theater school was finding that voice and kind of holding on to it and liking it and being like, yeah, I believe what I believe in. Now it's about navigating, okay, wait, but yes, I believe in all these things, and and how much, because there's so much I want to change about what I see on the stages in this city, and I just don't know exactly what is too far, or you know, I want people to like me, you know, and I want people to talk to me, engage with me about my work, and I don't want to turn people off because I don't think that's the answer. So yeah, I'm constantly being like, especially as a young person, you have to navigate. You have to navigate being likable. So I just wonder. I'm like, what? How far can I go? And I'm constantly exploring that in my work. So we'll see. Maybe there's an answer.
Recently, there's been a lot of discussions about the lack of diversity and representation on stages across Canada, especially within professional theatres. What's your thoughts on either the issue or the solution?
Yeah, I think what breaks my heart and is so disappointing is that it's not like a said thing. It doesn't have to be a fact, but what I feel is that there is still a real belief that we are not good enough. I think from people in really big positions of power, that people who sit outside the norm, sit on the margins, are not good enough, are not capable to write a kick-ass play, to direct Shakespeare or a small, Canadian play, or be the lead of anything, you know. And that has to change because the reality is we are here, we exist, and we're actually really fucking good at what we do. And I think it's just about my motto is insert yourself in all the spaces where you've been erased. And it kind of like ties in beautifully to what Rare is and what we've kind of been talking about. And I think the more that we do that, the more that we're unapologetic about presenting ourselves and our stories in spaces, the more people will take notice. And then I think there'll be a certain helplessness on their end. And when I say there, I mean white, older, straight, men mostly, just like the people with all the privileges, when they see work that's different from them but seriously good, I don't think they'll be able to do anything but kind of either take a back seat, which I would love, or give the opportunities. I just hate that it's still a risk to cast a queer person of color as a lead part or something, But I think slowly it'll change as long as we, on our end, continue to be reckless and mad and loud and bold.
My name is Maddie Bautista.
Maddie, where did you go to school?
I went to Humber College.
And what do you think? What was your experience at Humber College?
What was it like? It was wild, painful. It was difficult, but very rewarding. Because I went through a lot of growing pains, both as a human being and an artist at that time. I went right out of high school, so it was tough. But what I learned at Humber was to think as an artist, like really explore the world, really curious and picking up different skills rather than staying small. So Humber really widened my world. And that was the reason why I wanted to be an actor in the first place.
The subject of diversity and representation on the Canadian stage has been a hot topic in Toronto, especially over the last year or so. I'd like you to tell me about what you think should be some of the steps we take to correct this issue.
I feel like listening. We can begin with listening. Because I feel I feel like people don't often listen first and like speak to each other rather than we'll make the decisions behind the room. It's amazing for people to open up to the community and say, hey, we have this question, how can we be more diverse? And then just asking and listening, that's the first step. And I think another one would be asking why. Like, why diverse work? Why do you want to engage with diverse work? Who do you want to engage? And how are you engaging diverse artists? Because there's one thing about like just hiring diverse artists to play parts that don't necessarily speak to our experience at all, and then there's another thing. It's another thing to actually produce or create or make a space for diverse stories. And when I say diverse, I mean other. I feel like the third, or even before the first step, would be realizing how many types of other are there. Because then it's not just color, it's not just age, or it can also be ability, the kind of art, mediums, that's also diversity.
On the lines of diversity, have you ever experienced or have you experienced any shocking or something you weren't expecting when either at an audition or in the workplace, in the theater workplace, that really made you realize that there is still issues?
So, upon emerging into the community, something that I was shocked by was the amount of assault that happens during the workplace, and not physical, but sexual assault. Sometimes between employer, employee, director, actor, collaborators between each other. And I've only ever heard of it from stories, and I've heard that the perpetrator gets away with it because no one talks about it, or no one talks to them about it. So I was very shocked about that, and I've heard it for a while now from lots of different women, and that's what I was very shocked about upon entering this community, because I thought we would take care of each other better. And another thing that I noticed is this happening in theater schools. It begins in a theater school.
What would you say would be the one thing you wish your education experience prepared you for the real world?
I wish they would tell me to take care of myself, because the first 2 months that I was out of school, I burnt myself out, but then I was able to pick myself back up after. And I think burnout, is one of the hardest and biggest things a new artist has to contend, because when you burn out that early, I thought, maybe, do I have to stop? Is this over? When it's not, and I wish they told us not to take it easy, but to work hard, but at the same time, don't kill yourself.
To continue with that kind of train of thought, what do you think needs to change, or what do you think needs to be? What do you think needs to change in the Canadian theater realm to help emerging artists survive?
Survive? I think it starts with institutions or collectives choosing or actively making the choice to collaborate with young people or younger people. Because it's one thing for an institution to be producing a play and saying, oh, we're just going to hire this young artist, and oh look, it's our token emerging young person, rather than engaging with the work and engaging with the ideas that young people have. I think that collaboration is the way to go.
Tell us about the play that you're going to be developing with Rare Theatre, and why is it important to be saying that story now?
Ooh, okay. So the play that I'm developing with you guys, it's called Jadawi. And Jadawi, the translation into English is a citizen of Jeddah. And I grew up in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. I was born there, I lived there for 13 years, and then I moved to Canada. And Jadawi is about this girl. I haven't named her yet. I don't know when I'm supposed to. Anyway, it follows this girl and her life in school and her life at home, and how she deals with anger and assault in school and at home. It's based on my childhood in Saudi Arabia. I've been and my experience with sexual assault there, and it's a combination of my experience and a lot of my classmates and friends' experiences, and the women, the girls who I grew up with, who I spent 13 years of my life with. And it's an amalgamation of all our experiences. And I think it's relevant today, especially with how geographically divided we all seem now. Especially in regards to the Middle East, I feel like people have so many ideas, assumptions of how people function there, what people look like, how people feel. And also because people, I want to make work that talks about assault with children and how often that's misunderstood in terms of how a child processes assault and anger, and that's something I'd like to explore. I don't know, I'm still getting there, but we'll see.
And why Judith Thompson?
Why Judith Thompson?
And why Rare Theater?
And why Rare?
Yeah, like why would you pick, why develop this show with Rare Theater?
Because you're engaging with us, and that's special. The fact that you reached out to us first, it meant a lot. And she saw our Judith, she saw the first versions of Jadawi, and I believe she also saw Bilal's and maybe Kwaku's piece as well. And what was so touching was that she spoke to us about it very warmly, and not like, oh, I'm an industry person speaking. It was human being to human being, and she was very warm, and she saw Grace's piece too. And I think the kind of engagement matters.
So it's safe for me to say you're an emerging artist.
Very emerging.